In this lesson today, we'll be talking about dividing fractions. Before we actually divide fractions, we need to talk about reciprocal of a number. A reciprocal of a number times an actual number is equal to 1. So basically, when we have the reciprocal of a number, it's just you invert the numerator and the denominator. So what I mean by that is the reciprocal of 3/4 would be 4/3. So the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. Now back up here to where I said the reciprocal of a number, that the product of a reciprocal and the product of a number and its reciprocal is equal to 1, because when we do this you can cross simplify and you would just get 1. So the reciprocal of a number and a number, the product of them would equal 1. But what you really need to know is that we just flip-flop the numerator and denominator. So 5, what's the reciprocal of 5? Well, remember that 5 is the same thing as 5 over 1, so the reciprocal would be 1 over 5. So does the number 0, does it have a reciprocal? Well, let's see. If we write this over 1, can we write 0 over 1? Can you write that as 1 over 0? No, because this is undefined. We cannot do that. So 0 does not have a reciprocal. Okay, so 0 does not have a reciprocal. And let's get to some practice problems with dividing fractions. So if we have 5/11 divided by 2/3. Now how we divide fractions is we keep the first fraction and multiply by the reciprocal of second fraction. Okay, so once again, we keep the first fraction and we multiply by the reciprocal of the second. So we're never actually dividing, we're just going to change it into a multiplication problem. So how I do that is I keep my 5/11, that stays the same. I change this division to a multiplication, and then I change the 2/3 into the reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of 2/3? 3/2. And we learned in the previous video how we multiply this. We look for common factors that we can divide out, and then we multiply across to get 15 over 22. So let's do another problem. Okay. So what do you notice about this problem? It's a whole number divided by a fraction. Just like when we multiply fractions, we're going to change any whole number or mixed number into an improper fraction. So we're going to divide, not divide, what do I say divide for? We're going to rewrite mixed and whole numbers into improper fractions. So we take this 6 and we turn it into 6 over 1 and rewrite everything down. We're in the learning stages, so we don't want to do a couple of steps at once. We want to do one step at a time. So now we have a fraction divided by a fraction. And how do we divide fractions? We keep the first, change division to multiplication, and rewrite the second fraction with the reciprocal, so 8 over 7. And now we can look to see if we can simplify anything between the numerator and denominator. They do not have to be right over top of each other. They could be one in the numerator, one in the denominator, one in the numerator, one in the denominator, one in the numerator, one in the denominator. You get the picture. So now we multiply this across and we get 48 over 7. And we can keep it as an improper fraction unless we're talking about items like loaves of bread, people, buses, things like that. Or if they tell us it must be written as a mixed number. Okay. Let's do another problem here before we go to the next topic. We have 8/5 divided by 3/5 divided by 3. Now this is different because we have 3 parts of the problem. Remember, we always rewrite all whole numbers as improper fractions. So let's do that first. We have 8/5 divided by 3/5 divided by 3 over 1. Now, when we're dividing, you only are dealing with 2 at a time, and division goes left to right. So we need to make sure we're just dividing the first 2 that come. So this is 8/5 times the reciprocal of the second one, which would be 5 over 3, divided by 3 over 1. So you can only do one division problem at a time. So here we can see that these cancel out, and we really have 8/3 divided by 3 over 1. Now that's a division problem, so we keep the first, multiply by the reciprocal. So we cannot cancel out these two threes because they're in division. The only time you can cancel out a factor is in multiplication. These, you cannot divide them out yet because that's a division problem. I'll state it again. So this just becomes 8 over 9, and we're done with the problem. Okay, go try those, and I'll see you at the next video.